Coming on to number 2, we have the California Inner Peace team, captained by Kodama, world champion, and Death Knight world champion as well, with Thanatos, Sweets, Applesauce, and Dill Pickle. They have the most total Laserforce missions at the tournament with 18,761, and that does not include all of the games that were deleted off of Death Knight and Thanatos' cards, which they will bring up every time you mention how many missions they have.
Every time.
Yep.
Total number of SM5 missions in Loveland, they actually rank number 6 with 779. Consensus rankings, we have Sweets bringing it in at number 2, a humble number 2 from the man on the team, as well as Odin's Fist and myself have them at number 2, and Snuffles ranking number 3. So Snuffles, why don't you take it away?
Yeah, I mean, I think this team obviously is going to be incredibly difficult to beat. I think the biggest thing for me is Kodama as heavy. Very good heavy player. Very good heavy player in Loveland. I feel like Loveland, the way you kind of play heavy in it, suits his play style really well. And on top of him just being a good player, it just goes hand in hand. So I'm excited, but also slightly terrified at facing him up there. But it's going to be fun. I think overall, the rest of the team, super solid, top 2 players across the board. One thing, I actually originally had this team at 4th for a couple reasons. A big one actually was Nolan. When I was hearing you were playing Scout, and when I was hearing this, I was like, Nolan is a terrible Scout player.
Yeah, he sucks.
That was my honest opinion. But this last Mega Members Night, I feel like you played Scout so well. Like the improvement I saw from like previous times I've seen you play Scout, it was genuinely very impressive. I'm like, okay, so there's that issue I feel like is for the most part gone. I think the 2 big concerns I have now comes with Dill and Fan. Dill has not played much recently. Hasn't traveled out. I think the last time he came out to a thing was 2022, which was about 2 years ago. Hasn't played much since then. So, and we talked about him earlier at the start of the episode. He does adapt very well, so I expect that. But how just good he is across the board is a question mark for me. And with Fan, I think super wise, knowledgeable player, very good. The issue I see with him is just if he can hold up. He has struggled a decent amount at these member nights in some of the games when he's forced into a position where he has to move a lot, namely going up and down the ramps several times in a game. He struggles with that. And so if you guys get in a situation where you're kind of up and down quite a bit, I'm scared that he's not going to be able to keep up. But overall, you guys super solid. I'm excited to play against you.
Yeah, this team has a lot of meat on it and a lot of experience. That number 1 total Laserforce missions. They and it's not just Members Night experience either. Kodama, Death Knight, Thanatos. So many tournaments between them. And Sweets, Applesauce, and Dill have all shown up to tournaments. They've all come out and played several times. They have the experience. I have a lot of respect for all these players. I think that it's going to be really easy for this team to find their groove and find what kind of works for them. I don't think they're going to have as many lineup question marks as other teams. My biggest concerns for them that I think they might struggle with are just making sure that they are all on the same page for how to play the arena, and B, the backline, particularly resupply. I'm going off an assumption that we're going to see Thanatos and Applesauce in the resupply. I think that makes the most sense to me. My concern is that Thanatos is a player with so much experience, and that thing that comes with experience that we talk about, where you have a concept of how to play the game and you have a definitive play style and you have very, very strong and well backed thoughts on, okay, these are things that work. Um, he's coming in and playing with Applesauce, who's a very strong headed resupply player. Very confident. She really likes to just make a decision and go with it. And so, one of my biggest concerns for this team is the resupply not being on the same page, which is really rough in Loveland because recovery is so important in that field. So, if your resupply isn't on the same page, they get split up, you aren't able to recover as fast or as well. That can be a real game changer, especially in these top tier games, especially against teams that will punish you for it. That's my biggest concern. Other than that, I feel pretty confident with these players in a lot of roles. I think they have a lot of flexibility too. DK or Death Knight is just a phenomenal all-around player. He's won All-Star and MVP awards just all over the place, everywhere, all the time. He's played so many different positions in so many different tournaments, and I've seen him perform them all at the top tier. Kodama has shown up and performed very well. And Sweets is a great all around player too. I mean, when I think of like consistent, reliable players, you're one of the people that I think of. I think that I can rely on you to get a job done, and I think you play very well positionally. So I definitely think having you in the field is valuable. I think you played resupply well last year at Nats. But I definitely think in an arena like Loveland, where structure matters, I think having you out in the field to support the team is going to be very strong and something to watch out for.
It was a tough decision between putting this team at number 2 versus the Cedar City team, and I think what it came down to was the overall structure is stable. Not just stable, but good, and in some cases, excellent or S tier in other areas. As sure as the sky is blue, I think we're going to see a Kodama heavy. This is basically the structure of the Chula team that came out in 22, and then you replace a couple of the players with Death Knight and Thanatos, both world champions, extremely knowledgeable, good with leadership. You take these two and you allow them to impart their experience and build synergy and strategy with 4 players who are all already in really good synergy, have a track record of success and a base that they can build off of. Goodness, what I am most afraid of is if we beat you in a game, when y'all go into the back room and you break down what just happened. And I know we're not getting away with that again. And how many times are you going to play us over and over all tournament? Yeah, you guys got the brains and the talent all around to win this tournament. It's just kind of like a different path and some different question marks than other teams. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. I'll talk a little more in a minute. But
I'll take this opportunity to talk up some of my teammates then. I think Cayman is the best heavy in the tournament, hands down, especially for his playstyle in this arena. I don't think anyone's matching him, so that's a huge strength for our team. And I think Arrowan or Applesauce has the best instincts of any resupply player at the tournament. Maybe not the fastest, maybe not the best reaction speed, but like specifically for the resupply role, I don't think anyone has better like gameplay than she does. So that's kind of our backline locked in, and then it's kind of undeniable that Dylan's height is a massive advantage for the kind of story and a half that goes from 2 to 3 here. He's probably one of the few players besides some of the tall guys in Loveland that can see up into third from second. So that just unlocks more of the arena to play around for us that I think other teams won't be expecting. And then, like we said, we have some of the most, actually probably the most experienced players here, just in terms of like game and time playing laser tag. So the adaptability of those two players and the awareness of where they need to be in the game is beyond even like my understanding. So I think it's a really big benefit. Everyone on this team is very aware of their strengths and weaknesses and is going to be playing around them and making sure we fit like puzzle pieces with each other. So I expect us to be extremely cohesive and really functioning properly.
Yeah, I think Death Knight is one of the most impressive team play players I've ever played with. Um, I don't think anyone that I've ever played with who knows as much just where everyone should be in a game. He's playing, and not only is he like, oh, this is where I should be instead, he also knows where everyone else should be. If you come up to him and you're like, where do you need me? He'll be like, go there, do this. If I were to consider Thunder to be one of the best strategists in SM5, coming up with like how to approach the game and strategy, I would consider Death Knight to be possibly the best tactician in the game, to be able to adjust within the game and really understand what's happening and how to take on different situations and how to maneuver in ways to build advantages, which is a great strength. A lot of people will say, oh, we need to defend here, we need to attack there, we need to do rotations. But Death Knight has shown time and time again that it's so much more complicated than that, and there's some really interesting things that you can do with people, especially because we are all human. He's very good at proving that to people over and over again, that you can fall for some interesting little tricks and techniques and strategies. And so if he's coordinating the team in the field, it's definitely going to make everyone a lot scarier than they might be on their own.
Yeah, and just backpacking off what you just said, Death Knight, not only is he considered one of the best players at this tournament, I still think he gets underrated quite often.
Yeah.
He
Underrates
is
himself.
top tier at every single position. Like you said, super good tactician. For our Nats team that won last year, he was like our leader, basically. He was like the main guy. Obviously, we all like had turns and did our part, but like he was like the main guy who really got us in line and on what to do. Yeah, I think he's a huge asset for Eddie.
Yeah. Like I said, you've given DK and Than some really great players to work with. I will agree that Kodama, like he has really figured out how to play heavy effectively in our arena, and his play style allows him the freedom of mobility to execute the plans that he has in his head. Like he, more than any player I know, puts in the work physically and mentally to be able to play at a top level. I also want to shout out my other buddies from Lunchbox Leftovers. I agree that Applesauce is going to be one of the best resupplies in this tournament. She is really good at what she does, and thinking to Aiden's point, like I could see her and Than having different philosophies on what they should be doing, but I also think that they're both humble enough and committed to the team to agree on one vision and actually stick to it. They're not players that are going to get all egotistic and like sabotage the team, and I don't think the team will let that happen for very long if it does happen. And Nolan, you came to me and you said like, yo, I was thinking I want to be more of an offensive player. Played a lot of resupply. And you're asking me how to do that. I'm like, just you gotta get games, ultimately. And I'm really proud of you for going out and doing it. You're the number 3 commander at our site.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Did you
How
check
many
out your player
games?
spotlight? For players with 10 or more games, you're the number 3 commander right now. So a little bit of
Awesome.
there could be some regression, but just I throw that out as a fun stat. But really, like, you have good skill sets, and you synergize well with people. I think all your experience playing ammo in the past tournaments you've done actually lends you a lot to being good at many of the supportive aspects of Scout. And you showed out this last Mega Members Night. I think you deserve that spot just as much as anyone on the team deserves their spots.